Good evening. I would like to call to order the Wilmette Park District Committee of the Whole meeting for August 24th, 2026. It is 6:31. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Duffy. Present. Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch. Here. Commissioner Adrian Oakley.
Here.
Commissioner Leahy. Here. Commissioner Gold.
Here.
44.
Great. First item on our agenda is communications and correspondence. Any communications not in the packet that you'd like to know?
We did receive one today, but it'll be in the next packet about Gilson Park.
Great. Thank you. Next item is 3.0, public comment and recognition of visitors. Welcome to the meeting. If you plan to address the board tonight, we ask that you please come up to the front of the room, just at the end of the tables would be great. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. We will notify you when you have 1 minute remaining, 30 seconds remaining, and when you are out of time by holding up a sign and giving a verbal cue. Everything said during the meeting is recorded. And please note the full policy for public comment is printed on page 3 of the meeting packet and explains the procedures the board adheres to in order to maintain a respectful and efficient meeting. The purpose of public comment is for the public to share their comments or concerns with the board. Due to time constraints of our business meeting, there is not time for dialogue, although when possible, the board will address questions at the end of the meeting. If you have a specific question that is not addressed by the end of the meeting, please email the executive director. And I'd like to remind everyone that we are a community of neighbors and we appreciate our meetings being as civil and courteous as possible. I have one person who signed the public comment lineup. Anyone is welcome. I'll take these in order. So the first person is Evita. Would you please join us?
Hey, good evening. I'm here to discuss the pool and I have 3 points. I'll start from the easiest. The first is, I've mentioned this before, I really think that there should be a town hall meeting for swimmers to have real-time discussion with the board and staff. You know, the correct time to have these is weekday evenings in the fall, winter. I don't think that surveys and poolside appreciation events take the place of a town hall real-time discussion. So that's the first point. Then the second point that again I've mentioned before is I don't understand why there's no holiday and late August weekend morning lap swim counted at all. There's 13 mornings that the pool could have been open this summer, but it was not. There are also plenty of people that are willing to work. It's not just college students. I know from the beach, my kids were both lifeguards. They all, they were in high school. They all wanted to work and there's older staff that is available too. And there's no other programming there either. And the third point is about keeping the pool open during September. You know, I know we've talked about, staff has mentioned about slide reconstruction and all this. One thing I would suggest in the bidding, the desired timeframes and dates should be specified up front before the proposal stage. That way you don't have to go back and negotiate with contractors. Also, again, here there are current employees that, I know this, I've talked to them today, that are willing to work mornings past September. So again, that's not really a reason. Also, raw custom coatings, the contractor selected, I just received the contract today. They're not starting until September 21st. And they're certainly not working straight, you know, 14 or 3 weeks. There's no reason that the lap pool cannot be opened. There's no reason why the lap pool can't be opened between their stages. There's only, in the diving well, there's the 2 drop slides that are relatively close. The other ones are far away. And again, their contract says they're starting by September 21st, which is a whole week after what you were told. And, you know, my last comment is, let's try and be more creative. From all the closings, one would think that many of them are done to save the cost of bare bones staffing, and that shouldn't be the case. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Would someone else like to? Yes.
Hello, I'm Julie Wolf. Nice to be here tonight. I'm the president of the WGA, which is the Women's Golf League, and we just have a couple comments. First of all, we understand that there's a master plan that is under approval for going ahead with that. We would be very much in favor of that. It's an excellent golf course We love having our league there. We have 5 leagues, 186 members. There are 9-hole leagues and 18-hole leagues, and a lot of people play multiple other times a week. And it's a great golf course. The staff is excellent. And we're really interested in what might come out of a master plan. We think that could be great. We would also be happy to contribute to input on that if that goes ahead, because we play there a lot. And again, the staff has been just great, and I know they will do a good job with that. And the other thing is, we understand that the lawn restaurant contract will be up for review this year. We encourage you to renew the contract with them. They have done a great job, especially this year with Guest Day. We had 100 people. They did an absolutely amazing lunch. They were wonderful to work with, and they've worked well with our golf leagues. So we encourage you to renew that contract too. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak today? Yes.
Hi, I'm Maureen Jatosi, and also a Latin swimmer. And I echo pretty much what Avita said. I'm curious because the pool wasn't open for lap swimming this weekend. It's not open next weekend. I talked to some of the staff too, because I've been going there for 30 years. And one woman said she's happy to work. Like I said, are you available to work? She said yes. And we don't have lifeguards. We don't have anything. Usually for lap swimming, there's somebody checking IDs and maybe one pool person doing whatever they do. And that's it. So not really sure why it's not open next weekend, or I just found out Labor Day, it's only open 1 to 6. So I'm curious about that. Holiday weekends. And yeah, I too would be curious why it's closing a week before the contractors. I'm not too familiar with it. I know you're doing a project, but I know when we had contractors at our house, we asked them to come. So, and they started when we asked them to start. So that's all. I'm just curious, like to have more hours, and thanks for everybody being here.
Thanks for speaking. Yes, I saw a second hand in the second row.
Everybody, I'm Lisa Neiman, a longtime resident of Wilmette and a longtime lap swimmer. My goal in getting involved in this is like pretty much every other lap swimmer to see if we can keep the pool open through September. I started a petition in mid-July, walking around the pool, clipboard in hand. The response was incredible. People were like thronging me, getting their names on the petition to keep the pool open longer, because we had just found out, or at least I had just found out at that point, that it was closing early. I wish I'd gotten an earlier start on the petition, because I think we could have gotten a lot more signatures. That's sort of beside the point, and I'm trying to cut my notes short here. Couple of things. I can't speak for everyone, but many lap swimmers told me they would be willing to pay more money for a summer pass and willing to pay more to be able to swim through September. A few of my questions and comments are, when and how is the decision made each year about when the lap pool will open and close? It was mentioned to me that to keep the pool open more than 3 or 3.5 months puts too much stress on the existing pump and heater. It seems that Centennial needs a more powerful pump and heater in order to keep the pool open longer, if that's something that we're really considering. Is this at all being considered, or at all a possibility? Another question, does Nutrien really not want to use and pay for the use of the pool in September? My recollection is that they have used the pool in the past years when it was open through September. I could be wrong about a few of these things, because being out of town, I wasn't able to attend some of the meetings. Lastly, I would like to request that lap swimmers and other interested swimmers or Wilmette residents have regular meetings with the park board to discuss developments regarding the condition of the pool, the repairs, and the opening and closing dates of Centennial Pool. So thank you all for all the work that you do for Wilmette and whatever you can do for us. Oh, I had 30 more seconds. Then we'll do a dance.
Thanks for speaking. Would anyone else like to? Yes,
I was in the locker room today and someone told me there's a meeting tonight to help discuss the extension of the pool schedule. And that's all I wanted to say is, as an active user of the lap swimming pool, I would really hope that you guys could keep it open as long as possible. Because it's really a wonderful thing and the water's already in it, so you don't have to refill it. And so, if you can keep it over, I would be willing to pay extra money or do a daily rate if that's what it is to help keep it open. But that's it. Thank you very much.
would you mind stating your name? Just
Sure, not at all. Maureen, Maureen, last name Yamashiro, Yamashiro. Thank you very much.
anyone else?
Oh, wait, can I take somebody's 30 seconds I had left over? I just forgot something.
You technically don't do that,
No, but
Or you cake.
but maybe whisper it to Walter real quick. Yeah, no, you just maybe Walter, you move your mouth at the same time Maureen speaks.
One of the women always takes IDs and has.
Don't pop, Walter.
Charlie McCarthy.
Yeah,
She said, I said, can you work? And she said, they keep pulling me over to the ice rink.
Okay.
I don't skate, so she's always worked at the pool and she said they keep pulling her over, so I find that curious.
thank you, Mr. Keats.
thank you.
Thank you.
AE8.
I got it.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you for joining us for public comment. As stated in the preamble, we do try to answer these questions through the course of the meeting. And if by chance we do not, please know an email to the executive director or to public comment will help you be answered. All right, next item is 5.0 new business. We've got 5.1 recreation green team update and a presentation.
You have to apply for it. You're gonna be here on?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna move it. Tomorrow.
Yeah, do you want to try to answer anything? Will there be anything that comes up in the 17th?
Yeah, I think this is the only real time that fits if you have anything. Just because the agenda, look, so the agenda is not, there's nothing cool on the agenda today, okay? So this is, that's just is what it is, and we can't deviate from it. I think we are talking recreation. Chris, if there's anything you can answer on what these folks have said, because I don't see how we could fit it into really anything other. Maybe just, we are talking about having a webinar and gathering information in the fall. That has come up. This will be the 9th time we've talked about the pool. Last time was the 8th time. So it's the 9th time we've talked about the pool. These are fair questions. I think the one thing I had was that, by September 21st is the contract date. It's a fair question, but it is by.
Yeah, so that's an easy one. The pool needs to be empty so they can do their work safe.
Why?
Because they're paying and grinding. And so that is what needs to take place.
We don't, no, we're trying to answer your questions.
Yeah,
We're
so
trying to-
the pool needs to be empty for the work to take place. And so that's the number one reason, and it's not like a bathtub, it's actually like a massive bathtub. So that takes a while to drain. It takes 3 days just to drain the pools. And so that's one of the main reasons why, in that instance.
Also the pipes need to be
The
replaced.
gutters.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about it before, but I'll reiterate the fact that, yes, there's slide work, but we have a pretty big leak in the infrastructure in the pool that needs to be cameraed and found, and we cannot do that with water. So that is another thing that has to take place that we don't even know the full scope until we find the leak. And it's common in pools, in outdoor pools in the Midwest to have leaks. And some of them can be hard to find, some easy. We're hoping it's easier, but there's a complete unknown, right? And so that means taking up decking and digging down multiple feet to find pipe and replacing all that. That has to take place in good weather, so that we can put it back together and have a pool open in the spring, beginning of the year, sorry. which all starts in the spring.
I think last committee, of the whole, we had a long conversation about the bidding process and how it's not like a home construction thing at all. It's something I've learned a lot about. If you look at that meeting and want to email me, I've sent that email before, but email Chris. That's just not how municipal bidding works. And like, we can't hijack the agenda, but you all came out and spoke to us, and it's now, we probably have to go back to it. I know, there's obviously heard a lot about it, but like I said, to start, we've talked a lot about having not a town hall, but some sort of webinar we can talk about that as well, but the webinar where everyone can get the information, and some of the concerns you had about attendance are not necessarily a problem because it's posted for everyone to see. But I think it's now time for the green team update, because that is normally what we do. So.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Johnson. I'm the manager of the Green Team over at the Rec Center. And thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate the time and the audience. I just want to take a few minutes and just kind of give you guys an overview and some highlights of the Green Team throughout our first 8 months or so of 2026. So as we go on, just a refresher in case you've not been exposed to the Green Team before. Who is the Green Team? So we have our operations department and our team in the Rec Center. Christine Vaughn is our supervisor for that team. Our gymnastics gym, that is Sarah Emery, who oversees gymnastics for us. Center Fitness Club, Liz Ammon, who is currently out. She's had a baby recently. We'll talk about that in a minute. Right here at Mallinckrodt, we have Lisa Sullivan, who's the supervisor that oversees that operation. And Center for the Arts is Laura Brunfel, and that is a big division, and we'll get into that a little bit too. So as we move forward, let's start with the operation. So I'm just going to give you some basic highlights of our year, some things that kind of like stuck out in our minds. We kind of talked about this in advance. So we are in the process of finishing up some of the common spaces inside of our building. So as you know, we've had some challenges over the last 1.5 or 2 years. We've done a lot of work in our building. If you have not been there recently, please stop by. We do have some furniture that is on order. We had a whole bidding process for that. We did a lot of research with our squad. Our delivery date is supposed to be September 11th, and there'll be a delivery and an install, and everything will be back in operation again in terms of furniture. So that will affect our main vending lobby, our gymnastics lobby, and then we have a small gathering space up on the second floor, just outside of one of our rooms. So we'll have 3 different spots for the public to kind of gather as they wish. So we're very, very excited for that. Looking forward to it. Capital improvements that we have either finished or are going to be finished shortly. We have a couple of rooms that are going to be done shortly. Room 107, which is one of our big rooms that we use for rentals. So that is a very popular room. We're very excited to get that thing updated. That will include flooring, walls, lighting was already done, cabinets and countertops and things like that. So that's a big one for us. And then room 116, not a big room, but a very active room. So we use that for camp. We use that for programming for little guys. We will run it for like small business meetings and things like that. So that's going to get updated as well. And then recently, thank you, Josh, and your squad for coordinating all this for us, but we had our parking lot was resealed. So if you come by, you'll notice that it is brand spanking new now. So thank you for that, Josh. And then the other thing that we've been focused on in 2026, especially coming out of this whole kind of rehab of our building, is just some proactive property management, kind of having a plan for that. And what does that even mean? So what we're going to try and do is we're putting different eyes on it, where we want to be proactive in how we treat our building, how we clean our building, how we do basic maintenance in our building. So we not only were talking to our internal guys, but it's even bigger. It's all of Josh's team and everybody that services our building. So we're very proactive with that. The other thing that is kind of very important to us is just how do we schedule our building? So rooms, making sure that we're having the right type of programs in the right room, just so that we can efficiently be able to accommodate things that might come to us on the fly. And that happens almost every day, at least it seems like. So And then the other thing is, just the marketing of our building from a rental perspective, just being able to go out there and a shout out to our marketing friends for being able to help us with this, but just being able to take pictures of our rooms now that they're beautiful and just being able to go out and just kind of sell that out to the world. So that's a big thing for us. So that's our ops update for 26 so far. Let's flip this up. Gymnastics we'll go into next. Big time shout out. This is Casey. Casey is the first ever gymnast from our program to qualify and go to nationals. So we are like super duper proud of her. Very excited for her. It's been a wonderful job. So, way to go. Way to go. And our coaches that have worked with her, Marianne in particular, has worked with Casey. I think we're either going into year 5 or going into year 6 now with Casey and Marianne working together. So, and she's young. She's only like a sophomore in high school. So we have her for a few more years, which is kind of cool. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is our high school program. That one is newer to us in 2025 because we had it years ago. We brought it back and it's been really good. And it's been so well received that we actually added another session. So we added a spring session to it. So now we're able to kind of everything that is off season, air quotes off season for our gymnasts there in high school. Now we are able to have them come and work out in our building, which has been a wonderful relationship. We've really been able to cultivate that well. And then I will show you, hang on one second. So another shout out to our marketing friends. We have re-logoed our the branding for gymnastics. So brand new logo. We stenciled this on our lobby. Right now the lobby's a little empty with furniture. There will be a ton of furniture there in a couple of weeks, but this is our new logo. This has been a great ad for us. So we put it all over our staff shirts. We put it all over all of the marketing pieces that are going out. And then we are to have, not too far down the road, we're gonna have logo wear that we're gonna be able to provide for people that want to invest in that for our patrons. So wonderful opportunity for everybody for that. And we are gonna go to fitness. So big news in fitness in 26, our fitness manager, Liz Zantman, had a baby. So this is her baby right here. This is Hudson. So that was big news for us, kind of kept us on our toes a little bit. Being able to manage a fitness center without her being with us for a few weeks, maybe a few months. So we have thankfully got a really good team. So we've been able to lean pretty heavy on them and everything has been completely fine. She's been gone now for, feels like 6 months, but I think it's really only just a couple of weeks. Relatively new without her. So the biggest news I would say in 2026 for us. So we have spent weeks and weeks and weeks, probably months and maybe even a couple of years, just kind of evaluating. We always do evaluating the success or maybe not so much of certain programs. One thing that we've really watched, and this is not just a Wilmette thing, this is not an Illinois thing, this is a national, international thing. The popularity of indoor cycling has been trending down for a minute. So we are not going to get rid of indoor cycling, but we're certainly looking at repurposing that room because it doesn't make a lot of sense. A room that sits in our building, I mean, we use it maybe 10 hours out of an entire week. That doesn't seem like a smart idea. So what we are doing, we are trading in a bunch of our bikes. We'll still offer cycling. We'll still be able to accommodate everybody. We kept enough bikes to accommodate all the numbers that we know. But we're going to be introducing a brand new format probably in the next 5 to 6 weeks or so. I won't drop any names, but if you think of like some of the other fitness center options out in the world, there's others where it's like more of like a circuit training where you have groups of people and they go from this site exercise and then they go to this one and then people are kind of moving throughout the room. That's the type of experience that we're going to offer. So that's going to be wonderful. We'll be able to accommodate in that room up to currently when we start 15 people at a time. So if you compare that to a cycling class that maybe brings in 2, for me, it was easy math. So we're very excited about that. More to come on that. Stay tuned to social media for that one. The other thing that we are focusing on too is just the community health and wellness focus. So that happens to be one of our strike goals, but we are really focusing on like offering outside fitness, off property fitness. So down at Gilson, we'll do yoga outside, which has been wonderful. We are, obviously, we were heavy participants in the Doodle Dash, so the 5K, just being able to get out there with the community. The fitness challenges that we do, we're gonna be able to increase those. That's another benefit of that room that we're gonna design, because now it's gonna be open and there's gonna be more space for us to kind of have more classes going on at the same time, which is good. And lastly, with fitness is just our weekly, we have staff weekly fitness classes. A little bit late in the summer, we will pick it back up in the fall, winter, and so that's been a nice reach out too, so. Let me fast forward. So let's go to Mally, which is where we are now. So Mallinckrodt, some updates from Mallinckrodt. So we have seen a tremendous popularity because we added weekends here. So we added Saturdays. So we've like started to see a build like in our fitness classes, a build in our sewing classes when we run on Saturdays. So that's been wonderful. Mahjong and watercolors. Those two classes, I mean, we cannot keep up with those. So those are things that we run here. Adults still to come into those. Those are very, very popular for us. As the chat goes, as adults come in here and some of the younger adults come in here, they don't realize what we have here. So we've been able to expose ourselves a little bit in a good way. And we've been able to have birthday parties here that we would never have gotten, or private rentals for just different type of family events and things in this room, in the room next door. So that's been a wonderful exposure for us. Special events here in the park outside. So we were able to run 4 concerts this summer outside in the park, 2 adult concerts, 2 children concerts, all well attended. All, thank goodness, we had really good weather days for those. And the other thing that we kind of consider a special event here in our building is summer camp. And so it sounds weird, but like we welcome the younger kids in this building for 10 weeks. And what that does is it creates an awareness really for us, because we have parents dropping off kids that don't even know who we are, why we're going to this big building. They don't even know what this building is. So there's been a lot of chat. We've seen a lot of different types of growth because of that, which has been wonderful. And the last thing I'll say with Mally, so some collaboration efforts that we talk about with inside the green team, like what are some ideas that we could do that maybe we don't have space to accommodate over at the rec center. And this building is not as busy and the hours are not always the same. So there's a lot of times where this building is available. So there's things that we're considering, whether it's a gymnastics program or it's an art program or it's music that we can bring here and continue our effort, because we don't have enough room at the rec center to accommodate. So when wonderful conversations. And let's go forward. Here we are. All right, so CFA. This is a shot from our concert. We had ABBA that was here down at the bowl. That was a big concert for us. The other one was Modern English. So we had 2 really big concerts, both of them well over 1,000 attendees each. So they just got lucky with good weather, but just really fun events. I do believe I have another shot of Modern English. Here you go. The other thing with CFA World, so we have a few capital projects, and those tend to be bigger in this division. So we were able to upgrade our light board for the theater this year, so that is done. We have another project that will be done in Q4, so we're updating the carpet and all of the emergency lighting in the theater at the rec center. So that's going to be, those are 2 really big ads for that space. 2 of many hopefully to come later as well. And then programming updates, just a shout out, our dance team has just been amazing. I mean, they work so hard. We have gone, we talk about with like our Lance dance team, their growth, they went from 34 kids last year. This year, they're up to 51. So, I mean, they are like on it. They're doing an amazing job. And we cannot keep up with them. So it's been kind of fun to watch. And then the last thing, we added a new program that I just want to highlight really fast. It's called New Studio Path Ballet. So this one is going from the little guys all the way up to advanced. And this is a new program for us, so we're giving it a go. And it's been received so far. It'll be kicking off right away. So that is my update. I don't know if I have any other slides. Thank you.
Good job, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
No? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Tim, I do have one quick question.
Yes, of course.
You were talking about capital projects over at CRC. These are all beyond the scope of the water restoration, right?
Correct. Yeah, right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next up is the July 2026 financial update. Sheila.
Okay, so I keep picturing the whole number, which I'm now trying to bring up right now. The one thing that, there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. One of them is the electricity bills. Okay, so, during the last month, I've calculated a rolling 12-month average of usage. And somewhere between 20 to 28% under that rolling 12-month usage from January through June. We're getting a little closer to moving past that. We were at 112%. That's the number that I'm thinking of right now. So I feel like I'm not going to say, because, I don't know, but we're going to try and maybe come at budget. Maybe the budget distributions were not perfect for this year, and that's why we're seeing these big variances. Right?
How much is weather dependent? Yeah, I thought I.
Well, we think that a lot of the air conditioning usage in July it would have been June. We wouldn't be paying July until August, so we'll see what August looks like. Right? I also heard through the grapevine that the property tax bills are going to be issued September 1st and they're due October 1st. Although I looked online and I saw October and November, so I'm not sure what I was reading, but it looks like we won't be waiting until February for our second half property taxes this year. Okay, I know that all of the expense categories are behind budget. All of the staff gives an update to every variance by GL line item. That's more than $7,500 and 10%. And in the salary area, $450,000 through the end of July has been identified as a permanent variance. So this would be full-time staff that had been hired, or full-time staff replacements were hired at salaries that were less than the salaries that they replaced. Okay. I have a line in there about $104,000 in employee benefits that is related to benefits. Okay, but we'll see how health insurance goes, because there's a little variable component with respect to our health insurance. But we've not had a problem with that in the past. I don't anticipate we're going to have a problem with it this year. But if we do, I'll make sure that you find out right away. And the capital projects are plugging along, because I'm now tracking a budget variance with each one of the projects. You have a detail now of who's ahead of budget, who's behind budget, what's been done, where are we at? And when we go to do the budget distributions for next year, it will be more, a few of the comments I've gotten is, we know when the projects are going to be finished. When are we going to pay for them? That's when they're going to be hitting the capital budget for capital reporting for next year. So.
You first.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's weird.
I was just gonna ask a good clarifying question. Could you just speak to the camera project?
Do you know who can speak to it? Lindsay can speak to the camera project.
41,000. Is it the security?
No, we haven't started it yet.
But can you just speak to what it is? Is it
Not flock cameras.
that, well, I'm
Right.
I'm just getting clarification.
Oh, so, the camera project is an ongoing project through different years. We've identified certain cameras for certain areas in the district that either need replacement due to their lifespan. Like the paddle hut, there's different cameras that they're 10 years old, so they may need to be replaced, or
different areas within, like Mallinckrodt, right now it's on its own camera system that is only accessible here or on its own server, like at the desk. So we're adjoining it to our camera system that we can access like through the internet. There's a couple of areas that we feel safety wise need cameras added. So we've done a scope with like Bill, Chris, our safety risk team, and different like managers, superintendents to identify locations where there's either like a high risk. So at West Park, where a lot of our assets are, like all of our trucks and our vehicles and a lot of our equipment, we don't have cameras there currently. So the cost of that is to run the cables, run the lines, install cameras at different entrances so we can find if somebody is breaking in, so that we have different viewpoints to identify who they are. If there was something like that were to occur, we'd be able to have a little bit more of identification to see what happened.
Okay.
And then,
So Park District Security.
correct. That would be a better way to say it. Like,
And then there's a the reason why I know this is because Bill, who's part of my team, and I have worked on this. There's now a replacement schedule. So we're gonna get all of these updated, installed, done what needs to be done, and then a replacement schedule for the cameras and the recording equipment as that becomes obsolete, similar to the laptops and our desktops.
And I think each time we go to replace something, there'll be another review of, is this a necessary camera to replace? There will always be considering what is the risk level? But they are expensive. And once we've kind of gone through the process of understanding the cost and getting different quotes and things, it is an expensive project. So always keep that in mind.
Sheila. Hi, this feels like a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. The difference in salaries is permanent. Permanent being till the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay, so we haven't discovered that we need 38 campers as opposed to, or 38 counselors as opposed to 40. We just didn't need 40 this year.
And there's probably some weather, a lot of full-time,
Okay.
some full-time impact. That's really the most material.
Some positions we hadn't filled, but we hope to fill them next year.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's really the genesis of this question is, as we look to a future conversation in the next half hour about what is a set 4% salary increase, right? And we're saving more than 4% on it this year. I was kind of hopeful to hear like, well, we've decided we can run this more efficiently.
The only other thing I will add to that is when we go to do the budget for next year, the instruction we normally give staff is it's going to be the current year's actuals applying the percentage increase that we agreed to.
Okay.
Just remember, if we don't have a full year's worth of salary for a full-time person, that number is going to be a little bigger than the number that we have agreed to, because it's going to be a smaller number this year.
Right.
Which would then be a larger percentage for last year, but we will make sure that all of that is clear.
That seems confusing.
But I think to what Patrick was asking is, all right, so there were, let's call it 3 positions that weren't filled this year. Are we still going to try and fill those 3 positions next year? So are they going to
I
be?
think we already have.
In some cases,
It
yes.
just took a while, like my accounting manager took 6 months to
And I would also add that most of the positions we had to fill were internal.
Yeah.
So then we like doubled up the amount of vacancies because now we have to replace them.
Right.
And that,
Yeah.
okay, that's a big part of it.
Okay, let's go ahead.
And I'm gonna follow up on that and then another one similar. So when we get to the budget, you might see in one particular area, we have a 6% increase instead of 4% or whatever the case may be. But you'll help us understand that part of this has to do with fully your salary rather than partial your salary. That's great.
Absolutely.
And then, we were talking about the permanent savings for this fiscal year for salary and wages, but on those other 2 line items on the revenue side, fee revenue and membership fees, I think for fee revenue in the memo, you say 82,000 of the 445,000 is permanent.
That is what has been reported to me.
Okay, so that was sort of I guess, a follow-up question. It's possible that more than the 82, but that's what you have as of now.
Correct.
Yeah, and so then the same thing's true of the 137 versus the 318 for membership revenues. Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Questions?
Any other questions for Sheila?
Well, we'll talk about miscellaneous
Yeah,
income
there's just,
as things run along.
And Michelle, you just texted me an agenda correction.
we are ahead of budget by 1.9 million through
Thank you.
this month. We were also ahead of budget by 1.9 last month. I don't know, I'm a numbers person, so I just think that's kind of interesting, just saying.
Appreciate it.
And I do. Thank you. Great. Nothing else, then we'll move on to item 5.3, special recreation fund update. Any?
No, that's me.
Okay.
So as you're aware, I spoke with the last, board meeting. We had 5 projects, pegged for this year, 88, doors at Lakeview, early childhood, development, Langdon Beach, community play fields, and then automated faucets and adult dispensers. As you're aware, the scope for the community play field, the sidewalk that's being installed over on the east side of the forts. That project is now pegged at $133,000. So we are pushing the $45,000, or we opted to push the $45,000 for this year and put that to next year. We look at next year, 2027, the fund we're looking to increase to $275,000 from $175,000. And top of list on those items for next year would be, we've ranked, would be the doors, to put those into next year, and then also an ADA transition plan and website audit, which are key to the ADA plan. So our ADA transition plan is roughly 16 years old. So it is time for to have a new one and to have a company look at that. One thing that is I'm really excited about this new audit is the fact that it can be integrated with our GIS system, so our geography information system. So there's one key component of that. So specifically say a parking lot space at Mallinckrodt will have a GIS location of that physical space. So when we're going through and making these upgrades for ADA, we have the exact spot, we can track that. And then going forward, this will also help us in subsequent years with our budgeting for going forward with this plan. Are there any questions regarding the ADA fund, the projects we're looking to do?
Why didn't we do the door when we did the Lakeview Center renovation?
That's a good question. I know that was brought up earlier. Can't speak to why that wasn't on the upgrades. But what I can speak to with the ADA door upgrade too, part of the reason we've identified that door is a vertical latch door system, which causes a lot of issues with the sand coming off the lake. And it impedes locking of the door, so we want to go to a horizontal system. So we determined that we'll just fix the locking issue and make it ADA compliant at the same time.
How much of it is ADA versus just better operation?
Good question.
Just curious.
Probably, I mean, you're changing the cost of the doors, maybe 20% maybe.
Thank you.
So that poses an interesting question I don't know anything about. There has been some discussion in Mike's email and kind of last meeting about, using this year's transient operating surplus, I use the word transitory operating surplus to perhaps pay for some of this. Does our ADA, are we allowed to have it like an 80-20 split between special rec and otherwise? Yes-ish.
Can we split up a project?
Can you say, well, 80% of it's ADA, 20% better use, then it seems like we've split the baby.
How do you think you just allocate it, right? I'm sorry, would you just allocate it accordingly? Like, you could come up with some guidance on what it should be.
It's just something to consider. I don't want to think we make that decision tonight, but I just didn't know if we could do it or not.
Okay.
Is there benefit to doing that? I sense hesitation. No, okay.
Well,
What would-
you could if we had multiple projects and that frees up enough allocated funding in the special rec fund to accomplish some of these projects. In this case, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't have enough based off of the scope that we're eating at community playfields.
Or the other way of looking at it is if you allocate the entire cost to the door, then that's coming out of a bucket that you have fewer constraints on than the other, which we're gonna talk more about later on tonight too. So sure.
Any other questions on ADA? All right, let's keep rolling. Next up is 5.4, truth and taxation.
Okay, so, I'm sure most of you recognize this template. It's a template we use to, talk about the truth in taxation and the different buckets in which we levy. Although I do group all of the tax cap funds into one line item because the allocation of that money really goes based on budgetary need. And I don't know what those budget numbers are, but I do know that we have a limit, a max limit of 2.7% increase over last year's extended levy. Okay. This template that you're looking at here takes into account the projected budget for special recreation for next year. Okay. The assumptions are that we will have a 7% increase in the members' annual contribution. There will be a 5% increase in the special aids expense, with part of that being increased usage, which we have seen pretty steady over the last few years, and an increase in salaries for the special aids. And then an increase in capital spending from $175,000, which is what we had this year, to $275,000, which is what we plan to spend or is budgeted to spend. It's not even etched in stone yet, but we are thinking about spending next year. In order to accomplish that and maintain our required 25% fund balance requirement, we would need to levy $946,000 in the special recreation fund, which will make the increase from the 2025 extended levy to 26 of 16.22%, which of course puts the total truth and taxation resolution percentage under 5%, which over 5% we have to have, I think it's at 5% or higher, we have to have a public hearing, but we have a public hearing anyway, whether we're over the 5% or not. And that increase will be at 4.26%. We're going to have a decrease in tax-supported debt service, 14.85%, which makes the total levy increase from the 2025 extension to 26 of 1.46%. This would be the normal report that I would share with the board, but we decided to spur some discussion related to the tax levy this year.
All right, so before you start on that next step, so what we're talking about right now on this chart is we're asking for a 1.46% increase in our levy from the taxpayers, which represents 3 or 4% of the tax bill that each homeowner pays.
Correct. A little over 4%.
So we're asking 1.4, this is saying 1.46, and most of that is due to debt service rolling off.
Correct.
Okay. I do have a question that I asked last week. I wanted to know what our special rec dollar amounts were from 2018 to now. We haven't received any of that. And I'd asked Chris and he said he was going to reach out to you and then we'd have it.
And he did, and I provided it. I must just not have got it.
We got it. It's in, so I can forward.
Do you want to just read them off?
Yeah, it'd be helpful. And the reason I bring it up is it just seems that I'm not opposed to special rec spending. I'm not trying to slow down the process. It just seems that this number keeps increasing at an accelerating rate.
You mean the expenses?
The amount of dollars that we are levying for the special rec.
But I wish that you had because I went back to 2016 and rolled everything forward so you could see what the levy is. The levy,
So like 20, let's see, what, so
Chris, do you have it?
what was our first year on the board, Ally, like 18?
2021.
21 was our first year?
right? Elected 21st time.
21.
Just
It was only a way.
To the end of 21, going into 22 would have been your first budget.
So
Okay.
I feel like that number was $100 and some thousand.
It was $480,000.
Great.
That's what the levy requested for that year.
In 21.
And in 21, that amount, the total expenses that we paid during that year was almost just shy of $400,000. But there was a huge fund balance that was sitting in the special rec that we made a decision to start spending down as we were going through the next budget years.
Right.
We did do,
Right.
okay? So like in 2022, to spend down that fund balance, we levied $418,743 on a $742,000 expenses in the special rec fund. What was interesting about that year was we finished Maple Park. So we had a $270,000 park that went through the special rec fund that year.
Wow. The whole park. Interesting. All right.
Now, in 23, we still were levying at 422,507 on expenses of $494,000. So we're still under levying based on.
That again, I'm sorry.
$422,507 on expenses of $494,325. You guys have this in front of you?
No,
No.
So we can't track it.
All right,
can you send it? Can you put it up there?
we could. Makes more sense. Yeah.
That's her right.
Excellent idea.
Thank you.
Then you track.
Is this easy enough to get this going?
So while you do this, are you also tracking at the same time you've got levy the expense? Are you tracking the fund balance at that?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
That's a good thing, because I know that's what you would ask for.
Yeah, yeah, you understand where I'm coming from. The number just keeps going and,
You
yeah.
you have to explain.
As a taxpayer.
Yeah, as we're in the same boat. I agree, you should understand and know what's going on in this fund. And I'd love for you to know as intimately as I do. Okay.
That was, Michelle left first.
You get it right now. You just do the pinch.
Enhance. The sign.
Just normally just don't.
Duffy, I was thinking special rec capital when I started was like 150.
Yeah, I asked Sheila to track the capital spending
Right.
too, because we have some years where we didn't even spend 100,000, we allocated, but we want to spend more, and that's great, but the question is how much more?
Well, and then like there's the will get it.
Yeah.
We'll say the thing that we've talked about is that you can keep special rec balances for future projects. So if we were to do a bigger project down the line, you know, it doesn't matter either way, you're gonna need special rec dollars for that bigger project. And the choice is, can you have it now and have the optionality or perhaps run through the special rec sheet that we want to do earlier? And if you can't do that, do you then have special rec dollars available so that the community doesn't have to do more later?
I can't see any of this stuff, so. Okay, my screen is blank.
Oh, no.
So let's find out what this is.
This is now to test what's on your desktop.
Yeah, so let's see.
Okay,
And it's this one right here.
yeah,
Okay.
All right, so here we go, right? Let me see. It's a little smaller, so let's see. This is really hard to, come on.
so we basically blew out fund balances.
I just want you to be able to see the whole thing, okay? So.
I've never seen this before.
Going across the bottom, you're gonna, this, as there's still more. So the bottom should be the tax levy, okay? Where we levied in 2016, what is that, 645?
Yeah.
Not that I can see it.
Yeah.
And we levied in 2025, 644. So 10 years later, we are levying less than we levied 10 years beforehand in the special recreation fund. Now, in all, you know, I mean, you're seeing it here, we were levying, but not spending. There was probably some capital projects we're getting. I remember it took like 3 years to get Maple Park running. But I started working here in 2020 when you couldn't get anything done. In 2021, we couldn't get anything done. We started again in 2022, and that's when you'll start seeing the expenses rolling. In the meantime, we were levying, but building up the fund balance. So now you'll see that there's a line right above the tax levy where it's the overfunding in the fund balance, right? So you'll see that start, can't see on the end, but when you come back to 2025, we only had $2,300 extra in the fund balance over the 25% requirement that we have.
And was that because of the increase in the aid expenses? What was it?
Well, the increase in the AIDS expense, you'll see this now, this is the line, you'll see. So you'll see, and we are now at the level that we were in 2016.
What? Let's say that again.
Take a look at the AIDS in 2016.
Okay.
We're like 250 grand.
242.
Oh, sorry, 240 grand. But if you look here in 2025, we're at 250 grand.
Yeah.
So 10 years later, we've only increased actual dollars by 10 grand. Okay. Like I said, COVID didn't help.
Yeah, so you're gonna share this chart with all of us.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
This
Thank
is
you.
like some of my
This
best
is,
work.
this is awesome. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so.
Wait, so. Okay,
But the cap, there's nothing for capital contribution.
Yeah, there's.
That's here.
That's
Yeah.
capital. So it's the very last line before the total expenses. That's what we have spent on capital.
ADA
That line 10 again, is what is the line 10 capital contribution?
capital.
Oh, so we
For
had
the
to pay
facility contribution?
for a facility for NSSRA. So you'll see some big amounts in the middle there, but that's not been the case as of.
but we basically paid for those out of our balances.
Correct.
That's nuts.
So which line is it? Is it line 14 that is our capital spending?
Is that saying like 88?
That's levy, something less.
So that is that's what we call it in the system, but that is what we've spent on capital. So
So that line in 2022, 308,000 or whatever that was, that's the Maple Park here.
Yeah.
it's 2022. So
Yeah,
you'll see.
309.
We've just been spending down balances.
Right.
So,
And that was stated. I mean, I remember that we
did this on purpose.
Yeah, we did it.
well, I agree, but we also have made a conscious effort to tax less.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. And in one of these years, we dropped the special rec fund so that we had a 0% increase in the levy.
So like all these conversations about percentages are just a function of what we've done in the past, right? Is it the ADA levy going from 100,000 to 175,000? We could throw our hands up and say 75% increase, when really that's just a function of everything we've done under, like, not taxing as much and spending down balances.
Well, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, but it's like that grid I shared earlier today where we weren't keeping up with inflation. Now, I'm presenting that without judgment, but this tells a lot of that story.
Well, that grid though included debt service, some of it was referendum debt, so, yeah.
No, that grid, as Pat said to start, you know, the tax levy going up at 1.9%, those are those numbers. Yes, they included the debt service, but it's like another way to think of it is that's the money the community gives us to buy stuff. And that stuff is in part debt, in part special rec. And I did say the comment, like, you never really keep, especially when you're blowing out debt service, you're never really able to keep up. But in terms of like math, right? The purchasing power of our levy, and by the way, it's remarkable that like we've been able to accomplish this stuff. But
For sure.
but like, we've lost quotes, because it's not, our levy provides actually less in real terms than it ever has. Like, and that's that, it's 3% of our tax bill, right? It just hasn't gone up. Had we kept the same special rec taxing policies, it wouldn't have gone up we would have a much larger balance, like substantially larger balance. And we wouldn't be in this situation where, it's like, I'm kind of rambling because I've only seen
The
this.
compounding effect is.
It's also the ravages of inflation,
Yeah.
right? Is that if you had the same amount of money in 2016 as you have today, like inflation, it's probably 20 or 30% would be higher, right? So you're buying 20-30% less stuff.
And that's a fair comment. But look at the overage of the balances in 2016. So
Yes, I agree.
there's a bunch of things going on. Yeah. So we really, to compare the levy, it's not just a CPI thing. It's not just an inflation thing. It's also related to spending down balances. So that's part of the reason why we can explain it. And why we're looking at, I don't even remember how much it was a big increase, a double-digit increase last year.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at 16.2% increase this year. And you can see the numbers. The numbers are great, are spending down the excess that's sitting in the fund balance.
We didn't have enough last year.
Well, that's because I transferred also some of it from.
So that's what that 38,000 is, that we were short.
30,000.
3,000.
Here, 38 line
That is true.
A18.
And we knew that because we had our aid expense
Right.
was.
Yeah.
It was already.
Way to the center.
So whereas before that would have been eaten by the balance, it
It had to be
it
covered.
became a fee from the operating budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So our option there really would have been, it's instead of transferring the 38,000 out of whichever account, we could have just gone below our threshold in this account.
Our target fund
Our
balance.
target fund balance, and then made up for
We
it.
would have gone negative. Right.
So,
No,
No.
38 out of 166.
Yeah, we had one. You think,
So this is this fund overage or short. Had we pulled this out, we'd be short 36.
that's over our fund balance.
The one city.
Policy, policy, yeah.
Right.
So 166,000.
We have 166 in the bank.
Okay,
So we
again,
took 38 out.
we're saying potatoes, potatoes. We would have been.
No, what I'm saying is that we could have had the option, instead of taking 38 that year, we could have ended up in the levy
Sure.
this year.
However, we would be in violation of our fund balance policy.
And what's the penalty?
And we.
Well, we can ask that throughout time. Fine.
Yeah.
But
there is a-
my whole point is, no other board in the last 10 years has had that problem.
It is. So,
Pat,
No.
no other
Many-
board in the last 10 years has
No,
had
in
that
many of
problem.
those other years, we weren't in compliance with our fund balance policy either. But one of the things Sheila has done, which is great for us, especially with respect to the rating agencies, is she's tightened that up much more so than the past. But we have many times been out of compliance with our fund balance.
so regardless, it's,
And not this fund.
Yeah. This fund, absolutely,
absolutely in this.
absolutely.
yeah. So I guess what I was just trying to point out is there's options on how to move money around with this account in our levy. That 38,000, it's 38,000 out of a $38 million budget. It's not significant in any funds. I see why you did it this way. And I just was saying that we could have done it a different way. What I would like to ask about is, as we move forward, it feels like we're doing is we're moving more capital projects into the special rec fund.
I can't say that. I would assume that we are moving special rec projects into the special rec. Fund. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah.
That's a very fair. I would not
We
believe
had
that we
6
would be
last year,
taking
6 this year.
projects and making them look like they're a special rec. but definitely finding out that something's 20% versus 80%.
It is.
You don't want
Yeah.
making that allocation.
So, but you could also say, you know, was the entire Maple Park a special rec park, right? And so that's all potatoes.
I don't-
You can say, just like the door, 80-20. So, this is one thing that it feels like I noticed, and so I just wanted to have that part of the discussion.
So you do have the numbers here
Yeah.
as they are. And I
Yes.
even direct them to the GL and our financial statements. So they should all be, I don't know.
This is all.
Can you email that? I mean, I have, but
Yeah, we'll get that.
Thank you.
If that hasn't been emailed, we can get that out. All right, I'm afraid to unplug this in case.
Leave it,
Plug
yeah.
me back in. So, the next, and I would be, I came up with just some stuff, right? Some ideas, just so we could spur the conversation. And what was really great is that I feel like everyone here now understands what this means. All the discussions that I've had over the last couple of days, I'm super happy with that. So this middle thing, the middle choice here would be if we maxed out the special rec fund. All right? Because there is a maximum rate. The maximum rate for the tax cap fund is 2.7%. The maximum rate for the special rec fund is 4%. Okay? And that would total, I don't know, 1.25 million.
Yeah.
Which would have like a 50-something% increase to the special rec levy from last year.
Have we ever maxed out the special rec?
We
levy
have
before?
never, I have never done that. I don't know if we've ever done that in the past. It
No.
doesn't look like we have, at least since 2016. So that would then bring our proof of taxation number over this magical 5% number, which it happens. It has happened once since I've been here. The only thing related to that is that we have to have a public hearing if we're over 5%.
But we do.
But we have a public hearing every single year, and only in one year did we have to have it. If we were to max out the special rec fund and do a lot more capital projects, right? We would, that would be like 8.something%, right? Truth in taxation is over.
it'd be 8.6.
So.
But then it makes the overall levy a little over 5%. Now,
I don't think anyone's seriously considering
it's
it.
5%, okay?
We're not seriously considering it.
Right,
Yeah.
but I put that out there just so you could see what it looks like. I always like to just see the extremes every now and then
But
too.
we're recording, so we're not seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, the next option would be if we just added enough to the special rec fund to offset the roll-off of the tax-supported debt, about 180 grand, okay? And we probably could spend $500,000, if not more, on special recreation capital spending. I understand that this list is, I don't know, got 60 pages or something to it. I've never seen it, but I know it's a long list, okay? I put that in there just as a middle choice, okay? Again, the truth in taxation number is over the 5%, but the overall tax levy is only up 3.6%, or is up 3.6%, which is what we have been doing in CPI over the last few months, right?
Well, yeah.
It's the CPI that we're tracking.
Just some context, Sheila and I've had a super nerdy email exchange where we're estimating what next year's CPIU will be. You can take the last 9 months of CPI, we know the calculation, 9 months of 9 months of data, and then you get really nerdy and you look at where some financial contracts are, and you can say reasonably that the CPU, actually what we're taxing next year, that line 1 will be around 3.5%. So that's what we call it real-time CPI. It could be lower if out of nowhere energy prices crumble and blah, 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 but I'm throwing a little professional experience on it and saying it's probably going to be between 3.25 and 3.75% next year if I had to bet.
All right, he said nerdy, I say projection. So
Fine.
just saying. So all of this memo really was set up to just sparked some conversations. Really helped. The conversation that had been sparked were two other choices. And I believe you've all seen that. One, where we push the truth in taxation up to just under 5%, 4.99. That gets us another $50,000 in capital spending. And then the idea, which I thought was a really good idea, was to make a levy, the total levy, that bottom number, equal to 2.7%, which is what the tax cap fund percentage increase for the.
Do you have that visual too? Because I don't have a.
Yeah, I don't. It's in an email. It was in an email.
Do you have your email up?
I don't.
I will send,
My email.
you don't have your email up there?
Dude.
I mean, I could cast,
See, I can't see.
I think you need your screen mirrored. Does anyone want to do tech support? Because I can help if not. I thought I saw it open too.
It is. I'm trying to get it. I think it might be this here. There we go. All right. Oh, 'cause I wasn't sure.
Well, it looks like you didn't CC people, Sheila.
Well, I don't. I
okay,
sent
that's
it
fair,
to-
I don't need it.
Right, I sent it to,
Yeah.
you would just finish this.
I got that.
Yeah, I sent it off.
Oh, you did send it out.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm sorry. Yes, that's for, so right here,
Oh, okay.
we're looking at a 2.0 tax levy. If we tax up to the 4.99% in the special rec fund, which gives us about another 50,000, 54,000 maybe. And that is, two small projects or a big project. Okay? And then a little lower, if we made the tax levy equal to 2.7%, that would be it's like 100 and something, which is two bigger projects. And then the truth in taxation number is 0.71% over the 5%. So yeah, I mean, these were really great. Because this, as I started thinking about this, a great way to think about it. So that's the truth in taxation. Preliminary talks about the tax levy.
It's a good preliminary look. Yeah. What do you need from us at this point?
So, before we leave out of here tonight, if it is at all possible, I would like to be able to give staff some budget guidelines. I'd like to tell them what they could budget salary increases for. I'd like to tell them.
Sorry to interrupt, I apologize. I think the question, we're gonna go to that in a second, but I think the question is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I do think there's an element where that overlaps with what we're talking.
The second part of it is that we're gonna give them some guidance related to the fee increases. And then with respect to me, because this is my budget, I'd like to know how you want to do this as I go with the, what's the percentage that we want to do? And it's mostly related to special rec because the tax cap funds, we're doing the 2.7%, right? It would behoove us to do that because if we don't keep up with that amount, we lose that.
We've never not done it. Right.
I
been a while,
think
yeah.
that's the case.
It's been a while.
So this is to help me do the property tax. Well, not only the levy, but the property tax for the budget.
So in terms of guidance for the departments and whatever, it's gonna be the tax cap funds we all think we agree that we're gonna increase by 2.7, so that doesn't really affect them.
Right, this won't affect them at all. This affects me.
Right.
That finance the program.
Right.
But I did make the point earlier that having that as we inevitably roll into budget season and we inevitably start talking about operating surplus, it's like, well, incrementally, like we want to have some idea where we are with this into budget season so that it all can kind of look together, right? And I am sure you have stuff to say about going over 5%. Do you want to just say it?
Sure. I mean, I guess this conversation has been complicated in past years because we were looking at spending amounts. We were looking at trying to get into compliance with our fund balances. And so there were a lot of different moving parts. What's nice about this year is whatever we're talking about, there's basically just one variable. I think nobody has questioned the 7% contribution to MSSRA or the 5% increase in inclusion, right? So all those variables are kind of gone. So, and I did a couple of other real quick calculations that may or may not be right. But just so taking a look at our capital spending with respect to special rec, we talked about one extreme in the packet. If we sort of tax as much as we're legally allowed to, and Sheila, I don't think I have the number, it's in here someplace. The one that we've all said for the camera, for the record, we're not considering, that would create how much in capital spending?
Let's see, about $500,000, right? It's an extra 300 on top of it.
Yeah, more than that, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
don't have enough.
then you came to the scenario that, where the truth in tax increase would be 685, and so the levy would be 367, and so that's a little bit less. I don't have that exactly, but then,
Over the 946, the third scenario just adds 183,000 to special.
I think, yeah, so the first scenario that you shared with us, we would increase our capital spending from 175 this year to 275.
Right.
The one, if we stay just below the 5%, that takes us up to about 330 or something like that. And if we go to the other scenario that sort of matches the tax cap fund rate, then it takes us up to like
The middle one.
375-ish.
The middle one takes
Yeah.
us up over 500,000.
Right.
And the third one brings us to just over 300,000.
And then, a couple of others to throw out, because historically, we've just, as I said, we're not considering one extreme. I don't think we're considering the other extreme, but we should throw the number out that if we continued with $100,000 we've been budgeting for all of these years, then the tax capped funds would only go up by 1.78%. I think we all agreed that we want to spend more than $100,000 on special rec capital. If we simply maintained the level that we did this year, 175,000, which is a significant increase over what we've ever done in the past, the tax cap funds would increase by 2.84%, I believe. And again, in the first scenario you gave us, if we were to increase them from 175 to 275, so in 2 years, we went from 100 to 175 to 275, those were pretty big increases. The truth in taxation amount still stays at 4.26%. So I guess my question for the group, and maybe somebody else can weigh in more, be talking about 5% or 4% or 8%. We're talking about providing significantly more resources for special rec capital than we've done before. Again, looking at the history, I guess we've done it a couple of times before when we were funding a building or something like that. But we're talking about providing a tremendous amount of additional resources. What's the hurry for in advance of updating our assessment that you said it was how many years old? 16 years old? I mean, I think that we get to this conversation next year and we have new priorities and updated numbers and whatnot. It may make sense to go to 400,000 or 500,000 or whatever. I'm just not sure what the push is for this year when we're already significantly increasing what we've done in the past. And it's still sort of a black hole about what we might need in the future until we see that report. So that's my comment.
Debt service. Right, I mean,
What do you mean
so,
about that?
so.
I'm not sure I understand.
So with debt, debt's rolling up for me, right? And by the way, I can support the 2%. I think the 2%, 2.7 is better because it more aligns with inflation. So for an inflationary argument, I think that's where I've come in. But for me, this isn't necessarily about the list of potential projects, right? There's two things going on. Our tax supporters debt is rolling off. So that overall levy, as Patrick pointed out, is going down. This is a quote unquote opportunity, I'm looking right at the camera, to give more money to special rec for our notable special rec projects, as well as potentially build our savings, which are way depleted, and do so in a manner, especially, look, the 3.7, it's interesting to me, but do so in a manner that the tax bill we hand to the public is purely aligned with inflation.
How are our savings depleted, just so I understand?
The fund balance gone over the last 16 years, which 2016 and now that
We're in compliance.
we are in compliance, but we used to have more so we could do Maple. Maple was largely funded out of fund balance. Again, having only seen that once. And to your point, building a building, as we look to the future, there's a possibility we have to either go to the community or fund, and we are actually in the process of trying to save for this project, a rather large, probably something that has a special rec component to it. And if we have a fund balance at that time, and I'm not saying millions of dollars, but if we've either A, accomplished all our special rec goals that we want to accomplish now, do it when you can, not when you have to, or maybe we have some money set aside, then that could be applied to that building. Now, that's kind of why I'm indifferent, is because we're gonna have to, in that logic, we're gonna have to go to the community in any way. But if we don't kind of match inflation now, and the obsession kind of about percent changes is very real. I understand that's what the public looks at. The percent change, because debt's rolling off, we don't match that top line. The percent change is dramatically higher. I mean, I have the numbers right here. You're talking about future boards. In 2 years, we're going to have to raise it above. If we don't raise it inflation now, future boards are going to have to raise it above inflation because the debt comes back on. And those are things we can't necessarily, you can't adjust for. So we're essentially, and I feel like a hypocrite doing it. One of the things we are doing here is smoothing out what we're going to the public, but we're matching inflation. Now, the cost of that, as you pointed out, is this above 5% truth in taxation. And I feel pretty comfortable saying to the community, like, look, we try and do the best we can all the time on this. We have a system that is taxed the community at basically the same amount of money for the last decade. We see a list of projects that we can get done now. And if we're at 5.7 and that's $50,000 net for the community, it's defensible. I do think I can support your under 4.9, but I don't think that's really helpful for future boards. And I want to hear what everybody else has to say.
Well, I mean, I think well said. Why would we not take advantage of the time that we have with the debt rolling off to just, like you said, keep it smooth so that we don't experience a dip and then have to come back and raise it even higher in the future? It just feels like that number will be so startling and feel insurmountable in a way versus if we have the background or the way of saying it, keeping up with inflation that provides an argument that just makes that cliff not feel so steep. And it puts money in the bank then, it puts money here for us to have for projects now.
I have an answer to it, but did you want to say something first?
So, I am of the opinion that as debt rolls off, I think the community expects us not to raise taxes to make up for that debt rolling off. That looks like relief. Hey, we finished paying off that project. So why are we increasing the tax? So I'm not opposed to what is being asked for, this extra $275,000. To the statement that the dip and then the increase, well, that's going to be a referendum. So they will vote. The residents will vote. I will vote. You'll vote. We'll all vote whether we want more tax. So to say that we're burdening them in the future, I think is a bit of a misconception. So I'm at the point where if debt is rolling off, why are we going to increase people's taxes to make up for that debt rolling off when we can manage our projects as requested with this 1.4% increase in taxes?
Yeah, a couple of comments. I mean, one, none of us were on the board during the last round of the referenda, but the board got hammered by sort of making the argument that, hey, this is free. I mean, yeah, Chris and I were talking about this offline a little bit, and a lot of communities, that argument works really well. Hey, we're not going to raise your taxes. We're just not going to let them fall like they would have otherwise. in this community, that argument didn't play at all. And I am aware that we are probably going to have to go to referendum at some point in the future. So I'm concerned about us kind of feeding that narrative again, where, you know, this entity, you know, got hammered before, number one. Number two, kind of picking up on what Patrick said and what I mentioned with, you know, Patrick Leahy's analysis about taking a look at the levy and inflation and whatnot. I really do think for that analysis, we need to correct for referendum debt. Because again, some of that difference that you're seeing is because referendum debt was coming off, and referendum debt's different from all other debt. I mean, we went to the community, we said, we have this project, we want some more money. The community said, yes, we'll give you that money. Again, back to Patrick's point, with the expectation that at some point that's going to go away, not that it's necessarily going to get filled in with something else. And the last thing, and probably the most important point for me, is I understand there's concern about the future. We all think there's something floating around out there, and we're trying to figure out different ways to creatively put ourselves in a position to be able to address that at the time. But it is still a black hole, and it's speculation on our part. One of the things that I'm most proud about this government entity, this board, and I think I've said it before, is that we took on the lakefront without going to the taxpayers for any additional resources. Langdon, the beach house, the Gilson project, I mean, all in that was north of 20 million bucks. And I truly believe there isn't another park district in the state, except for maybe the Chicago Park District, which doesn't count, that could have done something like that. I'm incredibly proud that we found a way to do that. It's a testament to the creativity of the staff and the team and everything. And I'm certainly hoping we'll be able to do that again this next time around. I don't know if we will or we won't, but it feels like by just sort of plugging in a number now for something more than what we know we need to sort of hedge our bets a little bit, that's disappointing.
No, I want
to do better.
preface it, like, we definitely have a list of projects. And,
Right.
And that is point one.
And we're talking about increasing our capital spending for those projects from 100 to 175 to 275, or maybe even 325, or, you know,
We're
whatever.
not talking about 325, right? No one, does that come up yet? It's just 275, and that's what we need to spend, right?
320, 330 would be if we go to 4.9.
No, but no one's like, no, like, we haven't talked about that, right?
Weren't we able to go gather the funds for the lakefront projects because of the creativity and being able to pull out of the special rec fund to still complete projects like Maple Park? Like, I think it was the creativity in doing that enabled us to be able to save properly.
I don't think that moved the needle, but I don't feel comfortable saying definitively. I haven't looked at that, so I can't say for sure either.
I mean, I think about the number of playgrounds we have in this community, and I'll take West Park as one of them that just probably wouldn't be prioritized if we didn't have something like this that could maybe push us over to doing it. And with the number of things that come up, and I think Langdon's a great example, how hard we had to push for that with you, for that path to be ADA accessible and to work together to make that a place that is ADA accessible, I think is worth funding it properly.
I think we're funding properly either way, so we just agree to disagree, I guess.
Look, I mean, the end difference between the 2%, which you proposed, so, and I'm talking headline now, just headline goes here, right?
Okay.
The end difference between the 2.1% and matching inflation is $50,000. And I understand, Patrick, you don't support the 2%, because that's fine. So I guess the end, go ahead.
So which one is 2%?
2% is
Up on the chart.
it's up, yeah, it was up there before. So
The email.
So option one was the difference between option one and option 2.7% is $100,000 extra dollars going into special rec. That is, right? We're talking about, like, I looked today, no big deal, I have a big house, pay $1,000 in Wilmette Park District property taxes, right? We're talking for my property, and I'm looking at the camera, right? My property tax will go from $1,014 to $1,027. I'd like to rope in, we're also talking about a 5% raise in fees. And it seems that I don't have it. I've really stuck to the numbers here. What I struggle with is going to the community for a 5% raise in fees or active users. Like if you pay, what is, look, 4-year-old preschool is $18,000. Okay. We're going to raise their fees by about $450. Whereas we're talking about me paying $7 more on my house. I think I'd land, and like I'm saying, I understand there's a difference between $100,000 and $50,000. I land at 2.7, not because I pulled a number out of the air, but that's what we're doing the levy. And that fits to me. I can turn to the community and friends and neighbors and say, look, tax and inflation. Yeah, we could have taxed left. We're going to have $100,000 in for special rec, which we need. And we're raising fees by 5%. Have a harder time going under inflation when the vast majority, 75% of our revenue are fee-paying customers.
Fair enough. 2 comments real quick. One, I would much rather talk about the top line number than the bottom line number. To make your point, I understand why you do, but we don't control that number. It's the top line number that we control. That's what we're responsible for. That's the decision we're making. And it's a bigger number. So of course, it's nice to talk about the smaller number. But the number that we control is the one we really should talk about, number one. I lost my other point. Isn't that terrible?
No, it's fine. I mean, I asked about.
If I could just throw that out there, so when the village changed our garbage pickup, if any of you remember, we used to have, like, the garbage man would walk down my driveway, pick up my garbage cans out of the crib, empty them, walk back to the end. Now we switched and we had to leave our garbage cans out at the curb. When that decision was being made by the village, it was pointed out to me. I said, well, what's $30? That's my increase, to have them continue to walk down my driveway and pick up my garbage cans instead of me walking out to the curb. And it was pointed out to me that there's quite a few people in this community that live on fixed incomes. Not many of us sitting on the board that may live on a fixed income. And so perspective is one thing to keep in mind here.
I couldn't agree more.
And the idea that, hey, it's $7 to you, but that's just one part of the total tax bill that is increasing on an annual basis.
So you don't want to do 5% fee increase?
Why are we talking about fee increase?
Because they're
the levy,
they're totally together to me.
So I appreciate that. So my point is that I think that as debt rolls off, it's our duty, our responsibility to the residents not to just increase our spending because the debt's rolling off. They're asking for $275,000. We're finding a way to make that work pretty easily, it feels like, with a 1.46% increase in taxes, as opposed to what we've done over the last few years. And if we are talking about continuing to raise fees by 5%, which is what we've done the last few years, and then we talk about salaries that we got, wages, wage increase for staff as well. It all works without taking a chunk out of the savings that people may be able to see by the debt rolling off.
And I'm sorry, if I could just make the point before, so I'm a little foggy. I hit my head this week. So I forgot the other point, but I remembered it. That, we're talking about whether we talk about the top line number or the bottom line number. Well, I guess my question is that next year, when the situation is reversed, are we going to sit here and say, well, gee, the part that we control is only going up by.
What situation's reversed? Because it gets worse, right?
Well, because next year.
We have more debt.
We have more debt. So
right.
Instead of being, basically instead of it lowering the overall number, it's going to raise the overall number because the debt's going to go again from, I don't know, $1 million.
Well, I would absolutely take less next year.
So then next year we'll talk about, well, the part that we're controlling is only the smaller number. I mean, I think we have to pick a lane.
No, to be 100% clear, I would absolutely leave that number the same, right?
Which number?
Well, the special rec fund, if we were to go the crazy option,
yeah,
we would have no other option in my mind than to keep it the same. And this is why I want to continue to say, if the board so chooses to go with your 4.99 number, right? I would support it because I understand it. The thing to me, and I know Commissioner Duffy disagrees with that, that's fine. The thing to me is, we do have these projects in front of us. And we do have the ability to give to the public a tax raise in line with inflation. I understand it's a 5.7, and that's the truth in taxation is not a slap on the wrist. It's telling the community what you're doing, right? And we can all,
The part that we control, right?
that is a good thing. Like, I just want to be clear. I can definitely support it, right? But I think this is where it gets a little foggy because, you know, childcare in this town is a lot of families. And I see them every day outside my house, drop off their kids at 7 a.m. and pick them up at 6 p.m. And I would propose to the board that those people are the ones really struggling in this town because you don't drop your kids off those hours. We provide for them service that allows them to live here. And I have a hard time raising their fees by 5% and not raising taxes by inflation. That is, I understand we differ philosophically, but and I've really dug into the numbers and I live by them, but this is where whatever kicks inside of me and moral compass kicks in and says, that if we're going to blast 75% of every one of our users with a 5% fee increase, then it only makes sense that the community kicks in inflation. And my point is
5% for sure. I agree.
the final bill of the community will be 2.7% higher, and we're doing so to fulfill special rec projects. This isn't some arbitrary fund to dump it in. It's to do things that we have to do eventually, and we're just doing it now. I've spoken too much.
I
Yeah.
cut you off. I'm sorry.
No. I was just trying to take a pulse of where we're at for the sake of
People said their
moving
piece.
forward.
Yeah, for sure.
moving forward and just understanding what Sheila needs from us at this point. I know this was an initial discussion. I think there are two scenarios that were shared with us. I honestly can't even read what they are, so I need probably a little bit more time to look at the details on a bigger screen and process it. But it sounds like the first original proposal, the middle proposal, maybe are off the table. And so then there are three others, there's two new ones, plus the last one, which I think is tracking with the inflation number Patrick talked about. Am I understanding and tracking that correctly?
I think that, again, it depends, I don't know. It depends on how you want to talk about it, right? Do you want to talk about it in resolution 206 RX, which is the 6.5, to use. So the truth in taxation number of 6.85%, the truth in taxation number of 5.71%, or the truth in taxation number of 4.99%.
I like the
There's also-
4.26, but I
There's
understand.
also the 4.26.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
four.
That was the first one.
You proposed 4.99.
No, I said, I would
Under
certainly
5.
prefer 4.26, but I'm trying to compromise. I could compromise at 4.99 is what I say.
Okay.
So behind you is 4.99. And the first one is the 4, yeah. Okay.
And then there were a couple of others. There's the third one on the page and then the other one that's in the email.
Well, I guess I was to clarify, to go with the first scenario that Sheila suggested, which would be a 4.26. That was my train of thoughts. Is that what you would have suggested if it was? I mean,
If we didn't add all these other options, yes, it would have been the first suggestion.
yeah.
And that would have been an increase in capital spending, 275.
Right,
75%,
yeah.
right?
Where the increase then really be related to the MAC and, like it's the adjustments from, and then $100,000 in.
So, yeah, okay, so. You kind of complicated it by bringing all the things.
Lots of options.
But, I mean, I guess. I don't know. Possibly, leaning kind of toward that, just because what was originally proposed, but then part of me keeps thinking about that list of projects and how many projects that still need to be done, how much deferred maintenance needs to be done on prior projects. So I just.
So
Sheila, can you scroll up, just scroll up so I can?
You mean, you want to see that? You want to see the
Anybody mind if I run to the bathroom? I promise.
So, hey, Chris, I got a question for you. What kind of a timetable are we on to accomplish these ADA projects?
The transition plan.
So the transition plan was 16 years ago. The state mandated municipalities to catch up. But is there like a
Hard deadline?
The way it's portrayed to public bodies is that one, you have to have an ADA transition plan. Two, you need to be, you need to show that you're working on it, right? So you can show that you have the transition plan will have dates on everything. So it'll have a priority, it'll have a date, and it'll have a rough cost estimate. Yeah, very rough. And then the plan is to work towards those dates, right?
So what kind of projects would you say are on our 16-year-old plan are the majority of the outstanding projects? Are they, water fountains? Are they curb cuts? What kind of projects are they?
I would say there's probably just not having go through every bit of it. I would say that most of it's around the sidewalk. That's usually kind of the biggest ticket is uneven sidewalk. And that's something we'll chase forever, right? You know, tree lined streets. And so what the best thing we can do is try to go for the highest priority. So access to facilities is a big thing. So ensuring that we have the correct slope, curb cuts, or truncated domes for accessibility to get through. And then once they get to our facilities for a program or an event like at Wallace Bowl, we want to make sure that they're able to enjoy it like anything else. So I think that tells you kind of making sure they have a path, a way to get in a facility, a way to use the restrooms, and get around in the manner that everyone else is able to do so. So,
and then as you start looking district-wide, this is how you incorporate, say, a playground into this program, because that you need accessibility, whether it's a parent or a child, for the playground. That's just
all playgrounds have to meet accessibility requirements, all of them.
as we realized at the water park outside CRC, right? The water, we had to re-pour that because the poor slope. Yeah.
So I'll just kind of put out there, I mean, the more I think about it, kind of number 2 is where I kind of fall on this. I mean, we typically haven't gone above the 5% in the truth in taxation. We're talking 5.71%. Obviously, the inflation, debt service rolling off. I feel like we're talking about a few $1,000. It's, the difference between, 1,048,000 and 998. We can continue to spend our wheels, and I think there's a list. There's always going to be a list, right? And we need to work towards that list. We want more people accessing our parks. I do think there's value in the planning effort and getting that updated and making sure that we're approaching this in the right way. We understand what the right priorities are. We know one of the community playfield projects is getting deferred from this year to next year because of the cost increases. So, just based on where the group is at, I don't think there is support for, going to the, I can't even read this, 5.23% level. I kind of fall with on that number 2 is, let's move forward with trying to get a little bit more done and still stay in line with kind of what we've historically not gone over in terms of the truth and taxation amount by a significant percent.
So you're talking about the top one?
I'm talking about the bottom.
The bottom one puts us over at 5.7.
5.71. Yeah.
I'm aligned with you, Julie.
But again, if we need to run more numbers to discuss this, I don't know if there's time or if you need a decision tonight, but, you know, having heard kind of everybody's argument and where I think everybody's at, that's where I fall, based on the information I have currently.
Thank you. We can circulate that long spreadsheet so you have it. This doesn't have to be 100% stamped on. We're not voting on anything tonight, right?
Right.
So this was our first initial discussion, which I thought was
Robust.
robust. That's great, great word. Very robust. So we can circulate that, and again, this is something we vote on in December, right? And so there's time if we feel the need to throw it on a thin cow or something alongside something else to kind of touch base, I think we can do so. I think at the end of the day, we're pretty close on a couple different options. And so, just
in general, though, getting these options to us a little earlier so that
Yeah.
we can kind of process it, because, you know, just trying to see and listen and, you know, understand the numbers, at least for me, somebody who's relatively new to the board. I'm not tracking all of the numbers and percentages that are getting thrown out, so it's just, you know, it would be helpful to get this a little.
Yeah, 3:25 PM is not ideal for.
we got a lot of requests, since it was kind of brought out. The whole point was for this to be a discussion.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we're kind of getting ahead, which is fine, to throw out more numbers.
Okay, so moving.
I think we're on to wage and fees.
Do you still need to stand up here? Is there?
No, you're good.
None listed.
I am wonderful for all the time that you spent. So thank you. This is a great deal. And I do need it for the budget. We need to put a lot of pressure on it.
Okay. So we're looking ahead to now program fees and salaries. And we have staff recommendations of 4% wage increase, which is distributed across the pool. Some people might receive 2, some people might receive 5, some may not be eligible. And then program fees, staff are recommending a 5% average increase for programs and services. Again, it could be 2%, it could be 8%, but the average is 5%. Chris, or staff, what would you add to that?
Yeah, so also, which is in here, is just some history for you as well. And I think on the salary increases, you know, we've been at 3% the last couple of years, and we are working through a compensation study. But we are in the same hiring range as our peers. We hired a lot of positions, and we understand what the market is. So, you know, I think we're in a comparable spot to some of our neighbors who have all been increasing at higher rates than us. And so just in an effort to not only recognize high performing, this is performance-based increases, right? So this is based off of how well they perform, and is looked at as a pool. And so those are kind of the reasonings behind.
On the fees, I know you increases in the long-term capital model. The model I have saved had 4%. Explain more. I had, the last model I had saved had a 4% raise. So we're in fees. In fees. So it says here, in line with increases in costs in the long-term capital model. Last model I saw at 4%. So I'm just, and we don't set those, there's no process, it's just a keystroke. So I would like a little more explanation on why we are at 5%.
Well, we talked through it with staff, right? And 5% is a pool. So I hear a lot of the conversation tonight around, you know, say early childhood, that's a big ticket, or some of our other. What's that?
Paddle or golf.
Paddle or golf, well, yes, but childcare and some of those things we look at. We look at everything really and look at what our neighbors are doing and what is comparable in the market, and where there is room, whether it's a program that's full, and that's not the only justification, but kind of seeing where we landed. We talked through this pretty thoroughly last year, as well as internally as we went through the budget process. And do feel like there is room in a number of programs. And that gets flushed out as we go through the budget even further. I mean, this is guidance. And then we work with our team to see what, they have the feedback. They, when we raise any fees, because our costs go up, right, our staff costs go up, our, you know, what we're levying taxes for sometimes doesn't even keep up with what we can buy stuff for. And so that's why we are, we're looking to help bridge that gap, by doing so. And, again, you know, we heard great feedback on a program, summer camp, that was way overpriced and fell flat on our faces because of that. And I think we've learned a lot from that, on pricing things appropriately and well within what the market will allow and what our residents are, able to afford. And we do hear every time there is an increase, we are the first to hear any pushback. And so that was a conversation we had today regarding some programming, and what we have heard or not heard. And that's usually we'll know first, right? Right away. And we do hear those, and we know when we know we're pushing the envelope, or at least we try our best to, and then continue to build forward from that and what, the market tells us for each individual area.
Do you think that we're becoming more like a Banner Day camper, or are we just match, like what different, like, have we explored what a 4% increase would be? I mean, at the end of the day, this is 75% of our budget. We've had far greater increases in fees over the years than anything else since 2022.
Yeah, we went 5% in 22 and 23, 4% in 4, 5% last year. And I mean, we know that there are some programs, right, Dave, that we know we're a little light in. And some things like golf, we talk about golf, where our fees are with golf. We had our guidance for last year, and we didn't do everything in golf. We looked at segments of golf that it made sense in, as an example, right? And had success this year in targeting specific areas that are trailing behind. And this gives us the pool to be able to do that.
I hate it.
I hear you. I heard it earlier.
I mean, number of people we have on scholarships going up. Like, you want to talk about affordability, impact in the community? You know.
So if we have, you know, we just finished a CPI discussion about the taxes. If we're estimating, you know, somewhere around mid-twos on that, why are we exceeding CPI on increases for program fees?
Well, the memo says that for next year, they're expecting 3.4, 4.2. I just Googled it, and the consensus according to AI, which may or may not be reliable at all, was sort of 3.5, 3.6.
So what I said earlier, still got it.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, is that,
Yeah.
I thought you said twos.
No, 3.25 to 3.75.
Yeah.
By the end of this year,
Mid-threes.
Mid-twos.
So why wouldn't we look at program fees, running with CPI? And I understand some of the argument from what you just stated, but I'm just throwing that out there because we're using CPI as the argument for the levy.
I'm gonna botch how I ask this, so bear with me. Do we have the dollar amount tied to what a 4% increase in salaries means against our budget versus what the increase?
You should ask.
Page 7, we have a budget. And budget for 26 salary and wages.
14.2.
Can you help me put like numbers around what that looks like then? Like, because I remember in every year we've talked about, and last year I feel like even in my brain, more so and better than any year before, we sort of want our fees to be slightly greater, the increase, than the increase in our salaries and wages, so that we're making money and not just it immediately going to a deficit.
because that's not the only expense we have.
Correct. Right? So can you help me with how that should look?
Salaries Just on the budget would be
Yeah.
$570,000.
Okay,
I will point out that's only 50% of expenses, right? So,
Right.
so you have,
No, I know.
and I will, not to nerd out, but you have to assume salaries does not include benefits, which always tracks higher, right?
Benefits will go up.
Benefits go up, and so does,
Yeah.
so as a blended
I
rate
agree.
in my brain, as a blended rate, expenses are probably gonna come in 4+.
Yeah, I generally like seeing our target for fees to go up by 1% or
Greater than-
salaries
that's what
to
I
give us a bit of a
remember from
cushion. I
yeah.
mean, I could split the baby at 3.5, 4.5. Just throwing it out there, trying to get to consensus.
I think that's how we got there last year. So, I mean, you always pick the numbers for a reason. Okay, you always pick the numbers for a reason. Without the compensation study, 4% feels, it's a larger number than I, for some reason, was expecting this year, not having a compensation study. So where did 4% come in?
Well, that's kind of how I started things off, which is we pay attention to our neighbors who
Okay.
all increased higher than we did the last 2 years.
Okay, so their track record is higher than our 3.
More so than the neighbors, and most agencies that would even remotely compare to us would fall in that.
And yet we're still in the same hiring range and all. Isn't that what I heard you say?
Yeah, I was trying to, I would say that we are, well, we've posted a number of positions. And I was surprised to see like, not to get too specific on roles, but we've had 3 positions that I know of that we posted, one's currently posted, and I know, in the other districts, all trying to hire the same roles, and they were, oh my gosh,
When will
They
we?
were
$8 grand more in a hiring range for a $70,000 job on the last 3. So,
When will the comp study be done?
Yeah.
great question.
So, right now, we have been partnering with the Glenview Park District because they have also been interested in doing a refresh of their compensation study. So we went through a request for qualifications, and we have different virtual meetings set up with our top 4 or 5 firms that did proposals. So that's at the beginning of September. We have those set up to see and understand their methodology behind how they do their compensation studies.
So we'll be voting before this comes in is the whole
Yes.
point.
Okay. Yeah. And the way that they're approaching theirs is much further in depth than how we were going to approach ours. And it is sounding, the way that they're approaching it, although it wasn't the way we intended to initially, sounds like a much better way of approaching it once we heard about it, which will cost more than what we initially budgeted.
But we'll get better information too.
Yes.
So that's great.
I mean, I lean just in this 3.5 and 4.5 for the reason of CPI. Keeping salaries in pace with inflation always has made sense to me. It's always been a part of our annual conversation. These just, I mean, 18,000 for like that, and we're one of the lower cost options in the community. Gosh, it's so expensive to live here. And I understand your comment about taxes, like $7 an increase in a tax versus $500 on a childcare program. Like we have a fiscal responsibility as board members and to our residents and neighbors. That's a big increase for me to have to swallow. So I would meet in the middle at 4.5. I'd prefer to see it lower. And I understand that we have to have these numbers that play with each other. So I prefer the fees to be closer to 4. if
So you're
possible.
saying 3.5?
3.5 and 4 is
3.5
my preference.
But like a 3.5 to 4 range. We give Chris 3.5 to 4 range on salaries. Go get him. Try and be less. And if
You were talking about fees and
I'm
salaries.
so
Why do you
fees and
clarify?
salaries, so I'm saying if my preference is 3.5 salaries for fees, if that breaks the model, 4.5, I understand And I hate fee increase.
I'm willing to say 4 to Chris because it's being described to us as and how it was executed last year as a pool. And that puts a lot of faith in staff to execute. And what I also agree is a competitive hiring market. That then makes me swallow whatever. I would love to see, I'd say 4 salaries, 4.5 fees, and just execute. And that's really his job. And they've suggested to us 5, 4.5, that's a lot of money, right? I'm like, I don't know. We don't really know, right? And we're kind of doing it on vibes. It's just disgusting to have a 5% fee increase. I agree. I don't know what the 4% does. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I think we're have a little bit, excuse us, what's going on?
Oh, nothing.
I think we have a little bit of previous feeling where in the past, we used to just give you 5 and 4, and it would just show up as 5 and 4 on our sheet. That was how it used to be. Like, if we're telling you 5 and 4, and you're going to endeavor to be less than 5 and endeavor to be less than 4, go get them, but just give us the results. Like, yeah, I said 4, I did 3.5. Yeah, I said 5, we did 4.5. Does that make sense? Or do you need hard and fast? Because what I don't want to do is say 5% and see everything go up 5%, because that's how it used to be done.
Yeah, no, well, that's not how we did it last year.
No,
We had, when we went through the budget process, Sheila and I met with every single department's budget and had a very long meeting, like tonight, to understand what the increases are and why they're justified, or not justified. And so I thought it was a really good process to work through, because our team knows their programs quite well. It's not a money grab to see how much more money I can make in my area. It's what's right, and what we can handle, what the community, we think the community can work with. And it's a balance. So say no increase in fees, but we can work to that, but it's going to be a different operating surplus at the end of the day. As we're working to, do everything we can. I mean, if you look at the financial update and look at where our all of our expenses are below the line, every single one of them. And it's not necessarily sandbagging. I think the team has done an amazing job and will continue to do better. I mean, we'll always try to do better on the numbers that we get. That's our job. But I think that for us it was kind of starting at recuperating some of the costs for salaries or wages and trying to keep a competitive team here, which is helps us deliver high quality services and have a preschool program that's super expensive, on the lower end in the area, but still costly for families, but have high level of service and have really great, amazing staff.
I think I just every year have a tough time. You have a tough time with the 5% tax increase. That number, managing to a percentage without a story behind it is hard to just be like, yeah, but it feels very, it's hard for me to just be like, it's hard for me to manage to a percentage without the story behind it. Hearing about the $70,000 salary and that being so lacking compared to competitor districts, that gives me more. I like managing to the story and not to a percentage.
And preschool is a good point because it's such a big number. So
Yeah.
it's not just a percent, it's a lot of dollars. But, Dave, maybe it was a year and a half ago. I appreciated when you showed me all the different increases that explained how it was market driven in a lot of ways. I mean, I play paddle tennis, but I personally hope that we increase paddle fees by more than 5% because we're at capacity.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of non-residents coming in and playing. I think you'll be opportunistic about that. So it's sort of looking at the whole thing. But
Yeah, and Dave, I know your team scrubbed that list thoroughly. I mean, with camps and everything, I know you were so thoughtful in going through that, so.
Can I add something about the compensation study when we do it? So the last time we did it, we selected a percentile of where we wanted to be as a district. And I believe that was the 60th percentile. So that's where we have been and we've maintained that. So not knowing, and I think when we selected that, we got a lot of feedback from other agencies that were like, why you're blowing us out of the water. You guys are now the highest paid district in the area. So now that was years ago then, and to hear that this is where we're at and we are hiring for similar positions and those other positions are, their hiring range is higher than ours. Everybody else has gone through their own studies or made their own adjustments. So that same question is going to come about as well as to what percentile do we want to be in? And that's the part between Glenview and us where we've talked, and that's our own decisions as our own agencies, and we're not going to be having those conversations with each other, but we'll still have to make them at some point. So even though we're going to go through this process and we'll get numbers, there's still going to be a time where we have to pick where we want to be. And if we want to stay in the 60th or comparative to other agencies who sound like they may be above that percentile, do we want to raise or lower, which will that even potentially be more than the increase of whatever's decided tonight? So
I find it curious that we're all Illinois taxpayers and we have districts competing against each other and independently researched salaries. Feels like there should be a norm, and that's the way that it is in the private sector. You have an idea of the range.
With the purchasing of capital equipment, right? Yeah,
Right.
I agree with you.
In other news, we have many taxing bodies in Illinois. So I think, are we guiding to 4% for program fees and 3.5% for staff wages? Where did we land?
Can we see, can we see how, I feel like you've helped us with that model before, right? What it will do.
So you're not ready to say what that percentage should be, or do you just want us to?
I think
do
we
that?
need to tonight. You need that guidance, don't you? I
I
mean, we
need
gotta
it
do that tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm out the rest of the week.
Yeah, we've got to do it.
Okay. So we know that 4% equates to about $500,000
In salary alone.
in salary.
Yeah, not benefits.
Right. And benefits, well, that is just going to be a very interesting discussion.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting on Paderma to give us the final guidance, so that will be what it is. And then we have to decide, what are we going to do? How are we going to fund that? And how do we budget that?
If you could guess, so salaries are for 50%, that's more, but salaries are 53%. And everything else was 47%. On average, or just guess for the last whatever number of years, what is that percentage increase? Like how much higher than salaries, or like in terms of, I'm thinking of the expense blend, right?
The contract services, and
Back in the
utilities.
day.
So contract services is NSSRI, so we already know that's up 7%.
Right. But back in the day, there's a lot more than NSSRA.
Yeah.
Let's say, I don't know, when things were normal, like maybe around the early 2020s, okay? The add-on to a salary, okay, would be like 65%. Okay, and that would include the social security number, right? The IMRF number, our portion of the expense in the IMRF number, which interestingly enough is dropping from this year to next year, 8.2 to like 6.6. So that's great. And then there's the health insurance. Okay. The health insurance has been, the discussions around that have been scary. So we'll have to see what they're talking about with an increase because, Paderma is a risk management pool, right? And my understanding is they had 3 people hit the $1 million ceiling last year that they did not budget for. That they weren't expecting that many people to hit that. So that expense all gets shared by all of the contributing agencies, all right? Again, I think the rate sheet is due out sometime this week, but if we're looking at like the 15th plus year, I think last year we were looking at a 9% increase, 9% for the VPO, maybe 8.5% for the HMO. We might be looking at double that this year.
Yeah, I would anticipate 10.
And if that is, and that is actually, that's like nationwide, okay? All of the, medical insurance is going up. So there are some things that we can do, like pull out certain medications and have everybody do something else, see what kind of, options Paterno offers to us, so that we can try and keep that from an unrealistic number to, it's maybe a little more realistic, that we can take into the budget easier without having to have 10% increase in fees, which of course we wouldn't, because that's not a big, huge number. But, I mean, it's, like I said, I don't have all the information right now. Still waiting to see what the rate sheet looks like.
But you expect it obviously higher than salary.
I'm expecting a much higher increase in
Okay.
benefits over
So
salary.
here's.
So we should probably have a 1% delta on those two, is the bottom line.
Well, right, and it's makes me sick. But I'm in favor of 5%, 4%, and I wanna know. I don't wanna see it be 5% or 4%. But I'm with Ally, like, at some point we have to just. And this is the problem, the great thing about having, whatever, I've talked about
So you said staff
4%.
Staff or program 5?
Yeah.
That's what.
So I think Emily has said 4, 3.5. I've said 4.5, 3.5. Patrick said 5, 4, or other folks.
So I have program fees at 4 to 4.5%, and I have salaries and wages at 4.
I think we're all coalescing around staff increase at 4. Can we mark that?
Yes.
That sounds good. Okay, and then I hear a couple of variations on program fees, 4 to 5. Is that right?
I will bring up again that if we raise salaries by 4%, that's 50% revenue. And if those things, if the rest of the bucket goes up 6%, right? So 50%, 4%,
Then the fees.
then
should probably be
the
5%.
fees should match, because if taxes are 2% and that's 25% of the budget, and fees are 5%, that's 75% of budget, the blended, in this scenario, we are losing operating surplus. Just so everybody's clear.
I agree with that.
So we're landing on 5?
Well, I'd like to see it be, go get them, right? I want to know about, I'm going to be watching it very clearly. Like, it better not be 5% across the board, right? I would love to see the kind of hardworking effort that you guys put in last year. And again, I have PTSD about how we did this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Anyway, I don't want to force my ideas down. I'm just kind of choking it down.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, 5% makes me feel uncomfortable. I'd love to see us try to tighten our expenses a little bit and see, where are other opportunities for, generating revenue. I'll, think about diversifying our overall, model, but I know that takes time. But I would still like us to kind of strive to do those things, but have an understanding based on this conversation of, the potential need to go up to 5%. But I agree with Patrick, would like to see the staffing back to us and that not be the case across the board.
Thanks, everyone, for arriving at that.
So
Yeah, no, I don't know if I have anything else to add, really. I mean, I agree with everything you've been saying. But,
All right. Thanks for the healthy discussion. We're gonna call 5.6, the Gulf Master Plan.
No, we should do Centennial first. Yeah, I know. I know.
All right. There's a recommendation for a master plan. How would you like to begin?
So we have a memo in the packet. We have our golf team here, that can chime in. They've, been working with Whitno. And that's a firm that we have worked with in the past for the driving range. It's a great name within the industry. We believe that the pricing is really solid, right, for the scope that they're gonna provide. And the golf course is at a time where we're ready to start looking at what the future looks like with golf. And it was great to see some support from the ladies league, here tonight. We have been coerced from the golf team.
She's the best.
Yeah, also a landscape architect.
Yeah, if that's helpful. Again, this isn't the point of this entire project where we're presenting or talking about anything. This is the first step of the process.
Yeah.
As we know, the district is going through the feasibility study for the other facilities and in having conversations from the beginning of this year, Chris, and other staff, we started talking about the potential for a golf master plan. We have a golf course architect we've worked with in the past. We had him out to look at our facility, have some conversations. We've also recently had the USGA out, and Nick had a representative from the agronomy team of the United States Golf Association out, spent a day touring the property. So they'll be compiling a report where we're at currently and things that we can look out for in the future as far as infrastructure and different things that would be needed. A proposal that Quidno has presented to us is the fee of it is $36,000, which is what's outlined in your memo. And this is to provide services on a master plan for the golf course. Now, this is just the golf course, this isn't the entire property. So that's important to understand. A true master plan would involve a lot of different things, including community involvement, like having Julie here and going to our golf associations and going to our patrons. All those things would be included. Obviously, clubhouse, structure of buildings, the maintenance facility, some different things like that would be included. Parking lots, landscape architecture at the entrance. All those things would be included in a true full master plan. This portion of this proposal is for the golf course specific, which is why.
Including the driving range.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Because the plan for the driving range was already completed, but it would basically take that and put that into, it would be like a section within this, so.
Yes. Same architect, he would incorporate some of the ideas from that original, the driving range and just roll it into the golf course. This is greens, tees, fairways, bunkers, course layout, different turf, all irrigation. There was a portion, but there are some different things. In a true master plan, you're going to have an irrigation tech and irrigation consultant, which would be an additional thing that you do to redo your irrigation. That runs $10,000 to $15,000. There's like other steps and things that would happen. This is the first step in a long process, is to get the plan out there. We just wanted to be clear on that point, so it wasn't like, well, we get this and it's done. Wrap it all up. There's more steps out there. Also, in conjunction with like Water Neighbors are doing Northbrook Park District has just completed one in 2025. So if you're like, what does this look like when it's done? What are we talking about? Northbrook Park District has it posted on their website, for example, of what finished product of this is look like. Our counterparts over at Glenview are in the final stages. They've been going through the steps in the process for their facility as well for what a total master plan the golf facility would look like. Nick can add anything from, you want to talk specifics about different areas on the golf course or anything about this whole concept in general? It's what we're here for.
So I think it seems like a wise thing to do. I think you're guiding us that there will be secondary, tertiary parts of the plan over time, the facilities, the irrigation at some point in the future.
I am stating how it's being done in our partners and how other places do it.
Mm-hmm.
We're providing feedback that was requested for this first part. I think it's an opportunity for the board and the community to get their hands around like what it will take in the future, what they want to see about the property. How are we looking? How is the infrastructure of the golf course? How, dire are some of the needs that we may have? We have our own ideas on some of the stuff, but aging of different facilities. There's a lot of stuff that we in-house redid all of our greenside bunkers years ago now.
2017?
Okay. Yes. But we never did the fairway bunkers like the fairway bunkers have never been done. With no liners in the fairway bunkers. So when we did the renovation of the golf course in 2013, we only did 10 of the 18 tee boxes for cost cutting measures and for different reasons. So 8 of the holes have tee boxes that are much older than
So I
of
guess
this
to
renovation. So-
state it another way, supportive of this, but do you need a more comprehensive plan?
So I think,
Because you said parts are excluded, which is great.
Yeah.
Do you need though a full plan?
I don't need it. I think part of the conversation is, do we need it, and does our staff and everyone need a more comprehensive plan? Like what, and I'm not trying to be, sarcastic, I just think, like, what is, I think this is new with feasibility study, and we're looking at Centennial, we're looking at CRC, and we're looking at the new property and some different things. The golf clubhouse was built 25 years ago. Should we start looking at some of the big things in that building and what that should look like? The golf course is a very different place than it was 25 years ago. There's different things that pop up. Those of you that visit us often know part of it could be a problem. Should that be discussed? Should that be looked at? Again, it's just something that's different. The dining space was used for much smaller groups and much smaller events. It's now much busier. The outdoor seated area has exploded with outdoor dining. Should there be emphasis put on creating more outdoor space for diners, more outdoor space to sit and have drinks after events? Should be incorporating more community events. We currently get way more people that want to have small parties and things at our venue than we're able to accommodate. That's something that didn't happen before. So I would say, somebody look at programming, look at what's available, and look at where we're at. So do I need to know that? Like, what's our interest level on that? What would that take? It obviously would take a commitment and some money to try to decide, but would we renovate our outdoor space to create an outdoor space that could accommodate separate groups? Would it be more likely just to expand patio? But those are the type of things I think would be important to get community feedback, to kind of take a look at what we're doing. The restaurant vendor, kind of take a look at the community, what's required. So that's all of the things we're looking at. The first piece is just kind of letting us know this is the golf course. This particular proposal is just for the golf course, which is why it hasn't been, public input and whatever until we know how it comes back.
Does a golf course have a lifespan? So I know the irrigation system does. I know the golf path will. What's the lifespan of the course itself? And where are we?
So like in parts, but
Yeah.
right. So like if you take each of its parts and you think of it as somewhere between 20 and 25
Okay.
years. So
Where are we?
well,
Ish.
so the most recent renovation was 2013.
Okay.
So we're right at 13 years for the most recent rendition of the course, right? So through this process, and by the time you were to potentially do a project, let's say that takes 4 or 5 years. Well, now you'll be at year 18.
Yeah.
And so now you're starting to get even closer to what would be your life expectancy. The irrigation system is 30 years old. So that is already beyond its life expectancy. We're seeing its age in, expenses, fixing and making repairs.
And that's often, you said last time, what will determine, of course, being redone, the irrigation
Yes.
system.
And
So
so
we're there.
we're there.
Sounds like.
In
Okay.
some sense. And
So when you start talking about all the individual components, when you get into something like an irrigation system and you're talking about potentially closing portions of the course at one time or in section, depending on how you want to phase it or do it all at once, that's when we start looking at the other parts of the golf course, right? And what's showing its age, what needs to be fixed maybe about the same time. And then other opportunities, right? Adam brought up the tee boxes. Half the tee boxes are still the old styles, half are new. We know from our own experience and plus experience with golfers that we get asked all the time, well, why aren't these tees, match the other ones? So I think that what Todd's proposal will do is help align golf course features and aesthetics and, what the place could look like for the next 20 years, right? Set us up for the infrastructure to be improved for the next 20 years.
And I asked I'm sorry, just to piggyback on Julia's comment, because I think we are so supportive of you. I appreciate that this isn't a surprise to me to see it. I think we all appreciate that we've known you've wanted a master plan. You've talked about it. It's been in our capital plan. The question about, is this enough for you? I think us knowing, okay, when would that next phase of it? It sounds like the course, we're at a perfect timing and we wouldn't want to delay getting a master plan of the course itself. But the building, like, I don't like managing to failure all the time. I like being ahead of failure. And so, and I think as a board, we're trying to get to that point. So if adding to this comprehensive study gets you further ahead, I think that would be a conversation we would want to have versus getting to the point where we're like, oh, shoot, we're at a point of failure. So that's where I am hearing your question.
So,
And I was just gonna ask about timing. Obviously, we have a lot of planning projects underway right now. So when would you expect the master plan? I don't see a date on here.
So the goal, we started talking about it in the last couple of months and meeting with us. The goal would be to have something digestible by the end of this year.
By the end of this year.
Yeah, but then it would be with all the details and all those things, with some different, cost estimates, those different type of things, different portions of the golf course. What's done in many of them, and there's like different varieties, like project A, project B, and it breaks it into parts. Like, wow, that whole project's a huge number. What are the things we need to do first?
Okay.
What does that look like? And to Nick's point, the word closure is a significant one. So if you're going to do a project, the level of closure, how long will you be closed? Well, it's not completely relevant, not being a park district, but many who live in this community are familiar with Westmoreland and many of the other country clubs in the area who are they're obviously in different financial situations, but they're in the throes because this is the time that many country clubs in the area are doing that to prepare the club for the future. So, park district courses, this is something that hadn't been done if you go years ago at park district municipal facilities, but people are trying to be more ahead of it and rather than wait for something to break and then try to fix it or wait for the course to be outdated, try to stay in front of it, try to be more professional about it. The two that we mentioned who are their renovation was actually more recent than ours. The exact year, but I think my view is
More recent, and they spend considerable.
And less well maintained.
endless.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
a little bit of historical
Appreciate it.
perspective, you were talking about the tees. I mean, I was on the board when we did the last big redo and money was tight. I mean, the financially, the course wasn't performing as well. I think if I recall, we went back to the golfers and had a surcharge to fund a portion of it. And so like the tees, we just didn't feel like we could afford to do all of the tees at that point. Sure. Might have made sense to do the irrigation at that point, but the money wasn't there. So the course has performed exceptionally well financially, so it does make sense now that we feel like we do maybe have the resources to kind of go back and do it right, because we got a big bang for our buck, but we didn't do everything that we wanted to do. So maybe it's time.
I'm hearing supportive comments. Sounds like we're ready to bring this to the September board meeting. Thank you for the discussion. All right, 5.7 Centennial Roof Replacement Update. Josh.
So,
Medium speed.
this project is currently the first phase. There's two phases of this project, and it was spread over 2 fiscal years. The combined budget for both fiscal years tentatively was a little over $4.2 million. For the first phase of this project that's underway, the contractor's out there working on the cooling tower side, bringing that down off the building, putting that on the ground. We're looking at a fall delivery date for the cooling tower and the wall itself. The second phase, which is a lot more extensive on what needs to be done as far as work to the physical building. There's a lot of degradation to the steel beams, structures, and roofing. So what we're looking to do is bring on Boley Andrews for a CMA, a construction management agreement contract for $851,199. Boley Andrews is well known within the industry, one of the best or better contractors, companies to work with. Chris and I both have experience with them from our professional careers respectively. And with this phase of the project, roughly there's about 8 different construction trades that need to be scheduled within a 2-month time window to get this project done. We have demolition, masonry, structural steel, carpentry, roofing, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. So there's a lot of significant work that needs to be done within this facility. And we're looking for Boley and Andrews to help us with this project. So with that, just if there are any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Duffy asked a question. Did you get an answer there?
Which,
Okay, Chris, this is impressive production cost.
Reduction of costs.
I'm doing this in I'm theatrically reading it. Did the scope trade? I'm not gonna do it. Did the scope change dramatically to impact project costs? How many vendors were solicited a bid? Can you share those bids at the board?
So we have, we brought out 2 contractors to review the scope. The other contractor was Fuller Construction, who did the reconstruction over at the CRC. And they actually declined the bid because of kind of the complexity and scope and tight timeframes that we were trying to get them in. And we're trying to do the work with minimal disruption to the operation of the facility, which includes a lot of general conditions, figuring out how to put together a very challenging scope, and doing it in a tight time frame and close things up. So going this route with Boley allows us to engage in someone who can tighten up the scope, work through the means and methods of the project, which is why that number, albeit large number for the general size. I'll say that understanding the scope that's involved here, that is a very good number, that will be performed by a contractor who spend multiple months and end up costing us more money and for sure more disruption to the facility. They have plenty of experience in that realm. And I think that going with them, we're taking advantage of their professional experience. They do self-perform a good amount. So I think that helps them be more competitive. We will have to bid out. They will help tighten up and put together the bid scopes, and we will go out to bid publicly for anything that's over $30,000 construction cost. So there'll be multiple packages there, just to ensure that we are competitively bidding each of those scopes, but that is a number that has contingencies that they believe is a not to exceed number.
All right,
So we will work to try to do better than that number if at all possible.
so this 851 is just for their management. That has nothing to, no, that is this whole
It's in-
project.
Yeah, in the.
That's why I got a little confused because you just said that we're gonna go out to bid or anything, but.
So those are their professional estimates within that, and it's all laid out in that document, and then they have put together those scopes, and then there are, what you'll see is, what they have is placeholders, for certain kind of general trade items, and as well as contingency built into that number. So, we feel pretty confident that we'll be able to get that within realm, and it also will allow us to kind of play with the scope and find out where we have issues, and we can redefine it. They're just a small fee of that, and they are again acting in the general. They will control the project as if we bid it through a GC.
Fair. Thank you for that explanation. My question was posed because we have recently been accused of having preferential treatment to vendors, and I wanted to make sure that this was a bid process and not just a selection. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. Good. I think we're ready then to have that brought to the board meeting in September. Just a schedule announcement, there will not be a cow in September. Our next meeting will be the September board meeting. We'll have a number of budget big meetings and then the October. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you all.